What's up, people? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best new metal adjacent, new metal, quasi new metal, whatever new metal podcast from two dudes who are really there. One half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how's it going?
Great.
All
Feeling
right.
great.
We're all doing great. I've started drinking root beer vodka. It's going to be off to an interesting evening. And
Oof.
joining us this week, everybody, we have a special guest, somebody who I was telling before we started recording that I have at least 3 to 5 views on every video on his channel. We have Brad Nolan from the Liberated Tape Archive. Brad, thanks so much for joining.
You know what, guys? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We are definitely stoked. Tim, the running joke is Tim has to send me everything twice before I actually watch it. And I literally I went back through our chat history. There was a daisy chain of videos from your site where he's like, "Yo, did you watch this? Did you watch this? Did you watch this?" I'm like, "What the fuck?" And then the one time I finally went in, I was like, "Oh my god, this is everything I watched in my childhood," and it
Yep.
was just Filter, Manson, Deftones, Slipknot, 5.0, like everything. So I got to ask you, Brad, is this isn't all you filming, or is this stuff that finds its way to you through other means, or how does stuff end up in your inbox? I'll start with.
Well, all right. So the channel, video wise, 75% of that was filmed by me.
Oh wow,
Anything
Wow.
Jesus.
Chicago, like you mentioned 5.0. I mean, even like the Relative Ash 5.0, all of that, that was filmed by me. Factory 81, all those like little bands that you would never think of,
Hmm.
that was all filmed by me personally. Anything Chicago, Milwaukee, because I'm from the Chicagoland area. So anything in the Midwest was 100% filmed by me. We had a couple of guys in Minnesota that filmed a lot. We had guys in New York that filmed a lot. Missouri. We had some guys all kind of scattered around the Midwest. So it was kind of like a crew of us that just kind of helped each other and we filmed stuff. But on the channel, it's about 75% my
Oh wow.
footage that I filmed and about 25% from other guys that we just, kind of put on there. And what happened was around 2020, there's actually two other guys involved in the channel. I kind of just did all the videos and like actually filmed everything. And then we had a guy who transferred all my tapes. Then we had another guy who mixed it and
Jesus.
put it up as well. So it's a guy in Belgium that kind of handled a lot of the mixing and there's some like I did soundboards of Coal Chamber and all these other bands, and so we had to mix a lot of those footage so we can put out a 3 cam Coal Chamber video from 2002 on YouTube, stuff that nobody had ever seen before. And these were tapes that were just sitting in my, in my closet for so long. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's too much history here. And it was right, especially obviously pandemic hits. What better time to
Right.
unleash the beast than that? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
totally made
Right.
sense. So, um, you know, yeah, it some footage, is unique. Like I would always have people come to me and be like, "Yo, Brad, like you turned me on to so many bands because of your channel, like bands I never heard of." They're like, "I'd never heard of 5.0. I never heard of, Relative Ash probably got more publicity off of the video I shot of them at the House of Blues than they did their entire time and they were signed for their one album." Um,
That's
but
great.
it's just kind of crazy, right? They
Hmm.
someone reposted a video of them on TikTok and it got like I don't know 60 70,000 views off of the clip on TikTok. And
Wow.
That's
um
wild.
I've been dealing with a lot of that. That's the one thing, people rip my videos and don't give me credit. It kind of bothered me and irked me for a while, but then like what can I really do about it? Just sit there and bitch on every video? What can
Yeah,
I, you
exactly.
know, people on and if I put a tag on something, then people will place their own tag over my tag, and then I still lose. So it's kind of like fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
I've kind of just thrown in the towel on it because what's the point?
Yeah, it's like by the time you send in a bunch of copyright complaints, it's just like they don't give a fuck, dude.
Yeah, and I'll
Hmm.
even message them. I'll be like, "Hey guys, like, look, that's my video. If you don't mind just throwing, my Facebook, account or something
Yeah.
on there, just to give me credit. Just put a name." And they're like, "Okay, sure, you filmed it." I'm like, "Okay, like, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the
Right.
look at the comments of the video you ripped it from. And you'll see my name. It's not like I'm
Jackass.
hiding it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's just, and I think it's also culturally because what's one thing that I've noticed over the last couple of years is Brazil, Chile, all over South America, the new metal following there is so intense and insane. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Almost all the new metal pages that I find fed to me through the algo on Instagram are all coming from South America. We actually reached out. I tried to get the guy or guys or gals or whomever behind Has Sub. I tried to get them on the show because they have. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who's got an encyclopedic knowledge of even the most obscure new metal shit. I mean,
Yeah.
they make Tim and I look like tourists,
Yeah.
which is kind of
It's
wild.
it's funny too because I remember when I first seen your YouTube page, I was like, this is like a fucking treasure of videos, man. And I was like, how do I find this guy? And I found your email. I'm like, all right. And then I'm like, oh man. And then we just happened. Where did I see you on? Was it Instagram?
Yeah, it was the New Metal Reddit
There you go.
reposted your New Metal Reddit reposted something on their story about you guys, and I was like, oh, like a New Metal podcast. You know what? I did one earlier this year, and then I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, like I want to. Anytime to talk New Metal, I am here for it. So, you
What
know,
podcast did you do?
it was New Metal Agenda.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
Holiday. Okay.
Holiday
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kirks.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, he asked me on, and I mean I taught him a lot about a lot of the bands. He discovered a lot of the bands from my all my stuff. So that was kind of cool hearing, his side and his take and everything. And yeah, it's cool seeing people just overly passionate, and um it's just wild seeing all these younger kids and just getting
Mm-hmm.
so into it. And an interesting story. So I'm from Chicago. I know you guys are on the East Coast, but we have Lollapalooza here, obviously, every year. And this year, the Deftones were playing. They did a show the night before they played at the Metro, which holds like 1,100 people.
Oh, wow.
We went, my buddy and I went, and it was, I mean, this place just blew up the minute. I mean, from start to finish, they were insane. A band called Fleshwater opened, and
Yep.
I did not like them at all. They were awful, actually.
Wow, really?
Really?
they were
That's a
so
hot
boring.
take.
They were so boring, and they were so unenergetic. And I actually had high hopes for them. I thought that they were going to be good. People talk about them, but they just missed the mark that night, I think. So hey, maybe they had equipment fail. Like, I mean, there's a
Or
million things
Brad,
that can happen. Like,
they could have
you
been a
know,
little bit terrified, right? I mean, like you're opening for the Deftones, right? Basically, the band
Yeah.
that influenced the genre that you play in.
I
I
mean,
would be a little nervous.
I guess I mean they were playing Lollapalooza the next day, and now they're touring with the Deftones, playing stadiums and
Yeah,
arenas. So
yeah,
they better not be
yeah.
intimidated if
No,
that's the case. So
no.
yeah,
Have you
And
heard them
that,
on record?
maybe like one or two songs. I'll be honest. I haven't really dove deep enough into them. So
Yeah,
I,
the record is really good, man. I may,
okay.
you know what? I've seen some videos of them, and I was totally underwhelmed as well. So maybe they're just not a good
I,
live band.
I mean,
Yeah,
I saw them when they did I think it was a co-headliner with them and Candy off Candy's last album. And the place was packed for Fleshwater cleared out for Candy, which was kind of a sad, kind of a shame. But the venue had shit sound. So nobody sounded
yeah.
good. But I mean, I don't know.
Isn't
They've been
Candy a Chicago band?
no Candy's Virginia Beach.
Okay, okay.
But I
What am I thinking
mean,
of that?
I that Chicago set that the Deftones did, that was the one where I was like, I think I'll go see them next time they play live because Chino sounded great. The band sounded tight, and again, I really think that band, no offense to Abe and to Stephen Carpenter, that band rises and falls on Chino, right? If he's in shape and can sing, they're unstoppable. And they sounded
Yeah.
amazing. And they went, like an hour and 40 minutes. They played a long set.
Yeah, it was about an hour 20, I think.
Hmm.
And well, the next day I was at Lollapalooza, and we were kind of hanging out in the artist area, and I saw Chino, and I went up to him and talked to him, and I was like, "Hey man, like what do you think of these kids like TikTok and all this?" Like he's like, "Well, I don't have TikTok, but I hear about it all the time." I actually asked him, "What do you think about being called the band that wants that people have sex the most to?" He's like, "I heard about it, but I don't have TikTok, so I don't read off enough about it." I actually asked him that, and he just kind of laughed a bit. But he said it was we were talking about the Metro show, and if you ever have a chance to have a chat with Chino, he's absolutely the nicest guy in the world. And
I would stop podcasting after if I did
Yeah,
because
he's one of
yeah,
our
my
white whale
favorite band.
guests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was asking him, I'm like, what is it like now, seeing all these kids? He's like, dude, these kids know every word, and they weren't even born when these songs came out. It's just crazy to me. And Chino is very slim in shape. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he's in his, he's in like
He's
peak
his
peak
peak.
mode.
Yeah.
He's in peak mode, which is crazy now that they're playing, the United Center here in Chicago and all these big venues. And even when Steph stepped away, the guitarist Lance, who is again a super nice guy, he's like, I'm the guy nobody knows. I'm like, I know you, Lance. He's like, oh, well, at least one person in this whole festival knows who I am. So like nobody knows these guys for the most part outside of Chino, I guess, for unless you're like a pretty deep fan. But um, seeing him step in and get an opportunity to play at Lala and all that was really cool because you root for people like that. He even said he's like, oh, I'm a diehard Deftones fan. Like he even hearing someone say something like that and then getting to play with one of their favorite bands is you know something super
Gotta
cool
be
to
kind
hear.
of. It's got to be kind of wild. I mean,
Yeah,
so
it's
speaking of
it's like
Lollapalooza,
it's like
Brad,
Nilo from Fear Factory.
right? Like I grew up listening to this band. I'm a huge fan, and now I'm playing with them. It's got to be kind of surreal.
Yeah.
Jay Weinberg, he, took the photo with,
Yeah.
same thing,
I am convinced the Limpissance, the Limp Bizkit
Ah,
Renaissance
yes,
is
yes.
truly on the back of that Lollapalooza performance. Because
And
I,
and which is so funny you say that because they did the same thing at the Metro. Limp Bizkit played the Metro before that Lollapalooza show. And you know who opened for them? And it was their first US show ever? Spirit Box. It
Oh.
was their first. It was
wow,
2 months before Eternal Blue came out. Spirit Box opened. Nobody knew any of their songs because they were just brand new. It was their first show in America because the pandemic, and that was their
that's
first
wild.
US show in North America. And yeah,
Wait. Aren't they from North America?
or sorry, first show in the US. They're from Canada.
Yeah, they're from
Oh,
Vancouver.
oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Sorry,
okay,
wrong,
okay.
wrong words. First
Yeah, yeah,
show
I was about
in
to
in the
say.
USA. Sorry about that. Yes, sorry. I know Canada's in North
Yeah,
America. So
yeah.
yes, before everyone starts blowing me up, sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
but
wait a
I'm
minute,
well
hold on a
aware.
second.
that Limp Bizkit set, I texted Tim and I'm like, yo, if they tour, we're going because they were. I mean, again, I have come to realize that I am convinced that Limp Bizkit is the best new metal band ever. And my reason being is they've never changed their style. They've never changed their sound. They've always leaned into just who they are. They don't try to change and be different and move with the times. They tried the one thing, the Unquestionable Truth, which I argue was great. But you know what you're going to get. They show up and they're there to entertain and they put on a solid show. And I saw them this summer when they toured. The fucking place was packed. I was not nearly the oldest person there. There were people there who were literally 15, 16 having a time. They were moving t-shirts. It was like, okay, they've arrived. Like we're
I
back.
I was just more so confused when Limp Bizkit just toured with the Corey Feldman as an opener. I was like, come on, like give me, even before when
Yeah.
I think they toured with Wargasm before, and
Yep.
Wargasm's pretty good. Like I like
Yep.
Wargasm, and they toured with, I think they did a tour with Corey Taylor, somewhat after that. But like, give me something else that you're playing with. Give me another band rather than,
Yeah. Corey
like I feel like
Feldman, Bones, and well, the Nate No Face I like. His set was
Yeah.
really
yeah.
good. But yeah.
If you're going to do a tour and you're going to do amphitheaters and it's going to cost the fan a lot of money, like make it a strong package. And
Hmm.
I mean, for here in Chicago at Tinley Park, like pit tickets were $250. I was like, no. I paid $50 to go to the Metro, and then I watched them at Lala, and I was like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm good. I can pass. I can skip on this one, but
I wouldn't
like you
pay it
said,
either.
I mean, that's just it's just too much money for that, in my opinion. But
Hmm.
hey, everyone's different. If
So
someone really hadn't seen him in a while, go for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta ask you this, Brad. So I remember when I'm old enough to remember when VHS tapes first became a thing. I remember my dad bringing home the Betamax camcorder. It was like this big. I might as well have a boombox on my shoulder, right? And then I see all these videos from shows in the '90s,
Yeah.
and I don't remember video cameras being that much smaller. So how did the mechanics of that actually work? Like I've seen sets from Homedale Ozfests
Yeah.
or Camden Ozfest that Tim and I were at, where I'm like, I don't remember seeing anybody with a giant video camera with a charger and bags of tapes. Like, how did that work?
Well, you're aging it a little too much. We weren't. It wasn't that far. Like you're talking like that's in like the
Yeah,
'80s
I
where you
guess you're
had
right. That
that.
was the '80s.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we had high eight and digital eight
Which are
cameras.
still
No, I mean, But the problem was a lot of those guys, some of them like some Ozfest and stuff like the 2001 Ozfest and all that, like we had a crew of people that we got in through. I don't know if you ever saw the one. It was 2001 Tinley Park Mudvayne, and
Mm.
it's multiple angles. And I was in the barricade filming that, and I had people give me their cameras so I could sneak in their cameras for them because I had a photo pass. So some of us
Ah,
we
okay.
would find ways to get like people's cameras in if we had to. Some people were wild. They would have, I mean, a digital 8 high 8 cameras were, about that big, but how are you going to bring that in, right? You have to crotch it. You have to, if you don't have permission,
You gotta
which,
put it in
you
your
know,
jinkos.
Yeah, you
you
got to
got to
put it in the
crotch it.
bottom of your
Yeah.
Jenkos, right? Tie it to your calf.
You got to crotch it. You got to crotch it and find a way in. Or one thing about me, a lot of my videos are all in the barricade in the front. I kind of, for the most part, I was too chicken shit to like sneak in a camera and film like that. I always got permission. I always, had a photo pass and a video pass. But some of these guys are ruthless. Like I know a guy who he cut a hole in a porta potty and filmed Fear Factory. From like a porta potty, like the little hole slot. Like, I mean, these dudes were ruthless. Like any way that they could do it, like locked the porta potty and stood in there and sweated for an hour during a Fear Factory
Oh,
set. I mean, hey, he got his video, so some stuff like that. People were so determined to get their video that they would do anything that they had to.
And
Fear
the other
Factory
thing that
live from the porta potty.
right,
Hey,
and the other the other thing to think about is it's not like you were getting rich off this stuff. Like it
no,
was truly just it was like Tim when we talked about the guy who's behind all the CD leaks, right? How music got free. It had nothing to do with money. It was cachet. It was bragging rights. It was yo, I got the
Britney.
first snot show back with Sonny Mayo when he rejoined the band. Like I was hiding in the coat closet. Like it was bragging rights. It's what it was for. It was
yeah.
bragging rights.
Yeah, also too, the channel has no monetization. The bands deserve the money for that. That's not my music. That's not
Right.
I didn't create any of that. Like none of that should be monetized in my pocket. So I think that that's another thing that, bands get scared about nowadays. Like it's so different nowadays to try and film. It's so much difficult and everybody has a camera. Anyone can go on Amazon
Mhm.
and ship themselves a camera and I mean, some of the bands I used to film back in the day, I can't even get access to nowadays. I filmed The Used about 30, 40 times and I like emailed their manager and I didn't even get a response. I'm just
Wow.
Mhm.
like, okay. I'm like, you're going on this huge tour celebrating all these albums that I filmed under. I have all the footage. Do you want it? Like, not even asking for money. Like, hey, like,
Right.
use my footage. This is the best. I was literally the only one filming and getting soundboard access and just crickets. So I'm like, I don't know.
I
It's
How
weird.
did you get the access for that?
Going up and talking to people. I would just go
Okay.
up to their tour manager and I'd be like, "Hey, look, I filmed for so and so. Like, I'd love to film you guys." And the use that kind of I shot a dart and I got lucky on that one because I was at Warp Tour. I was at Warp Tour filming for a bunch of bands, and I had heard of them. I was like, "Oh, they're going to be at Ozfest this year too, so I'm gonna go check them out." And so I went up to what's the guy from Goldfinger? He was their manager, kind of their manager at the time. John something. I forgot his name. He's
Oh
in
yeah.
Goldfinger. He's like a. It's
He
gonna.
was on Toby Morris's podcast, John, whatever it is from Goldfinger. I know the voice. I
Yeah,
just can't remember his last name. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, hey man, like, do you mind if I film? He's like, no, go ahead. And the youth played in front of like 50 people on a side stage, and I
Wow.
filmed them. And I was like, hey, so if I film them once, I'd go to them the next time, like, hey, here's copies of your footage. Like, do you care if I film again? And then I would get like, this was before social media, so it's not like I could get someone's Instagram or,
Yeah.
maybe like MySpace wasn't even around then. So like, what do? Get someone's
Mm.
email, right? So email or phone number if they actually gave it to me. But yeah, it was harder because it was harder to communicate with people. It was harder to to access that. It was basically going to the venue and asking the band and asking the tour manager if they were in a good mood to let me film. And yeah, sometimes it worked out. The used worked out. I then the used tour manager ended up managing a small band from New Jersey called My Chemical Romance. And I got a phone call. I got a phone call like, "Hey, Brad, we need you to go film this new band." So they played 2 shows at the Fireside Bowl, which is a
Wow.
bowling alley with no stage. And, I was more the new metal guy, so I didn't even really realize who was also the headliner. The headliner for the first one was Under Oath,
Oh
some
shit.
band I had
Okay.
never heard of. Band, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go film this opening band. And then the other one was Piebald. They opened for
Shh.
Piebald. And mind you, this is a bowling alley with no stage and nothing. So
Mm.
Oh, we know the stories from
yeah,
that place.
yeah, it was a wild, 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 wild place there. Finch played there too. Glassjaw, I filmed all those.
Nice.
But yeah, so I started working for My Chemical Romance for a bit after that as well. I
And
actually went on tour
then
with them. I went on tour with My Chemical Romance for a bit.
and then how surprised were you to see how big they got?
Well, music shifted, I mean, everything's a cycle and music
Mm.
went that direction. And I honestly didn't think that Three Cheers was going to be as big as it was. I did their DVD, Life on the Murder Scene.
Okay.
So it was like re-released and then they put in their DVD to it. So I did like all the interviewing and all the like a lot of the video work and the behind the scenes stuff. I lived on a van with them. They didn't even have a bus. We lived on a van.
Jesus.
We lived in a van together. I slept on the tire well because I was the new guy, which was which was not fun. Every bump you go over, you feel that.
Mm-mm.
So anybody who says that like, oh, you want to go on tour with the band, just you might get a little more than you wish for. But
How old are you?
44.
Okay. Shit. So when did you start doing this?
I was in college, so I was probably like 19,
Okay.
maybe 18, 19.
I'm assuming you went to college for some kind of like video art or
Nope.
something like that. No? Oh, okay.
Communication.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say like English or something completely left field. Okay.
No, I did. I focus on persuasion, so maybe that helped me film a lot. I guess I don't know.
That's fucking great though, man.
You talking about like bands that didn't even know the film existed. I think about the time I got to interview Sonny Singh from Hate 56, and he talked about one of the ruckuses that he created is when he released the Dillinger footage from the final Hellfest. And the band called him and they were like, where did you get this? They didn't even know that the footage existed, because there was all the legal problems where they filmed all the bands, but they never got waivers. And then all that footage is just sitting in boxes in Sonny's, I guess, studio, wherever he is. But it's like he put it out there and he was like, hey, here's the ill-fated Hellfest. And then the band was like, this is Ben from Dillinger Escape Plan. Where did this come from? That's kind of wild.
Did they
Yeah,
make them take it down?
No, no,
Oh, okay.
no. They
I guess,
were, if I remember the story correctly, they were less than happy about it. But at that point, I mean, what are you going to do? The ship has sailed. Again, Sonny doesn't make any money off it. So,
That we know
I,
of.
yeah,
he has a Patreon, right?
yeah,
I'm
he
pretty sure
has
we're
a
talking about the
Patreon.
same guy. That
Yeah.
guy, when I saw like some of his stuff, it actually kind of inspired me to go back to filming again because I saw this guy having this huge archive and just putting out stuff for people that like just want to see live music. Not everyone can get to
Yeah.
shows. Not everyone lives in an area where they can go to a show every day or, I mean, what about certain areas and people in
Right.
other
In the middle,
countries
middle
like
of the
we see
country.
like yeah,
Yeah.
other countries even like, some of these bands don't even leave America. A lot of these UK bands can't afford to come over here anyway. I've been wanting to see the Guano Apes now for 20 years. I can't see them. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember those guys, but
Yep. Yep.
open your eyes. That was a great album.
Yep. Yep. And it's wild, yeah, the way Sonny tells it, where he's like, he has bands come to him and say, I grew up watching your videos, hoping that one day I would be on your site. And now that my band's on your site, like my life is complete. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy who, again, his own video camera around South Jersey and Philly. One of his favorite bands is Rage Against the Machine. He ends up being their
Yeah.
videographer for that tour. Like,
Yeah,
God,
that's crazy.
God bless him. Right? That's awesome. Like, I mean, he was just, I mean, Tim and I will tell you, Brad, he was a fixture at every show you went to. And actually, the downside of everybody taping shows nowadays is sometimes it made you lazy. We were like, I don't know if I want to get off the couch and go to the city to see this, but
100 fucking
Brad will
percent.
be there and he'll tape it, and I won't have to worry about it. And then when Brad wasn't there, you're like, should have went. Yeah.
I
One
guess
million percent on me.
I guess I never thought about that. I guess I never thought about the idea of that, but I
Nowadays,
mean,
I mean, you're doing a
yeah.
lot of vintage stuff, but like nowadays, I've talked to people say, this is hardcore. Will be on Hate 56.
Yep. That's me.
which is, I mean, I get it. It gets rough. But yeah, so let's talk new metal. You have the probably the most obscure curated collection of new metal videos of anywhere else on YouTube, if not the internet. And like we talked about 5.0, I think there's a scrape video out there. Like there's
Yep.
tons of just the second and third tier stuff that Tim and I we have a list going of bands that we're trying to track down members of so we can get them on because just curious to talk to them, but forgotten, truly forgotten bands.
Yeah, Scrape. I mean, Will Hunt's doing well for himself. He's the drummer of Evanescence.
I didn't know that. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah.
Shit, yeah. Like I'm looking through your list right now. I mean, it's just, I mean, crazy, dude.
5.0, you won't really do much. The singer Daniel, he married the guitarist Sharon. I think he's like an FBI agent or something,
Jeez.
like completely out of music. Factory 81 guys. I talked to Nate a while ago, but it's been probably 6 or 7 years. I don't know what he's really doing now. I really wanted them to go back, but the bass player Kevin, he was on some like tattooing show, so I know he does tattoos. Um,
It's
yeah, I
wild.
mean, everyone kind of goes in weird directions. It's cool seeing Chimera back. I love those guys.
Fuck
Uh,
yeah.
so I worked for Roadrunner from 99 to 2001. And I remember because I was filming Chimera and I brought in a bootleg VHS into the Roadrunner office. I was like, here, you guys, you need to see what they look like live. And I wasn't working in the New York office. I was working in the Chicago. So it wasn't like all the big wigs of New York or
Right.
anything
Monte
like
Connor's
that.
not two
Yeah.
doors down. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny because I had my boss had these like one of the very first items of Slipknot was they were these cards that had each member of Slipknot on them, and I kept asking my boss, I'm like, "Yo, can I have these? Can I have these?" And he's like, "No, you can't." And then one day I just stole them, and he knew I took them. He just knew I took them. So I like years and over the years I had the Slipknot guys like signed them for me and all this stuff, and then I sold them on eBay many years later. I ended up getting another setback, and I posted it on Facebook. And one of my buddies, actually runs Roadrunner Records now, and he tagged Monty Connor on it. And Monty was like, "Oh, I still have a couple of sets of these cards." It was kind of like the ultimate flashback for me
Hmm.
with having like Monty Connor like comment that he still has those cards. But that talk about a guy who played such a big role. I
I
mean,
mean,
he's the guy.
he's still signing bands. He's still around. I mean, guys like him, guys like Mike Gitter, right? They're
Mhm.
still bouncing around and still finding talent, like finding talented artists. And you would think the job has to have gotten harder with the pure amount of volume
Mhm.
of bands that are out there. Like Tim and I talk about this. You can record a demo for next to nothing. You
Oh
can
Yeah.
get
yeah.
it out there through for next to nothing. So it's literally a fire hose, literally a fire hose.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
every Friday it's just like, I mean, in December it's been kind of slow, but like, give it like, say, like June on a Friday, it's just like, dude, there's like 30 records that just came
Yeah,
out.
I can't catch up on all the shit. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fucking wild, man.
Yeah. I'll be
So,
curious. I'll be curious though if bands still go the album route or they start flying the singles because I think like putting out a couple of singles here and there, like a steady flow of music, um, might end up being a more beneficial route for a lot of bands rather
yeah,
than,
absolutely.
I mean, you could put a merch line out. I saw Architects, for example. They have a clothing like a bunch of shirts and stuff for the song Whiplash, where they put this cool video together that's in honor of like the Woodstock '99 and everything.
Mm,
And I thought that was really cool that they kind of use that concept, something of that nature. So I think that they can make, they're glorified t-shirt salesmen now at this point because they need to make money
yep.
because how are they streaming's not paying them anything
Mm-mm.
touring, they're whoring themselves out for meet and greets so they can make money on the road. And merch cuts are taking a huge chunk, which finally it's cool hearing people actually complain about it publicly and call these venues out
Yeah.
for it. um, but there's a lot of things at play that I mean, if you're a newer band, yeah, you got to pump out music, right? But if you're a more established band, do you need a like look at Falling in Reverse? All half those songs started coming out in 2019, 2020. He puts out this album, right? Of all of them like years later, already three times platinum and since August. I mean, And yes, I do love Ronnie Radke. I don't care what anyone says. People can hate him all they want. Ronnie Radke is so smart, and I will give the dude all the credit. Do I think he's got he's got a mouth on him? Absolutely. But you know what? If you want to have a rock star, you want to have that bad boy rock star. There's your bad boy rock star. You can't complain about him if you want rock to be edgy or anything like that, because we don't have anyone like that. Everyone's too scared to open their mind now.
I
100%.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brad. I like the approach that some bands are doing, where say we have an LP coming out of 11 songs. They'll do 5 singles in the lead up, so you've heard at least half the album. Then the album comes out and it's the remainder. I personally love that approach, because this way you've at least soaked in half. So honestly, to Tim's point, when you have 12 albums coming out on one day, if I pick up like the best example I give is the newest Throne album, right? You heard 5 of those songs before it even came out. So if I really wanted to be picky, I could just listen to the 6 songs that I did not hear beforehand. But I listened to the whole thing and I was like, great, I got through that album fairly quickly because I knew half of it already. I think that is the key to success. For if you're trying to, get really big. I think hardcore bands just do EPs. Just do EPs and maybe like an 8-songer. It's
Each song's only 2 minutes a pop for those guys. So what does it matter? I mean,
I think you're right in the regard where, especially coming into 2025, it's like, why even do the full length? I mean, unless you're a band like, say, Orthodox, where you're on Century Media and you're just, the Century Media is probably asking for a full length. I get that. And they're a great band, so the whole record's going to be good anyway. But, like, bands like even like a Madball right now, just put a fucking EP out.
Just keep banging out 7-song EPs, right? And you can tour off it. And you can do, like Brad, you said, you can do merch. You can do merch off that.
Yeah, absolutely. People will buy it, make it limited, and everyone likes the limited merch. Like, I mean, people really love vinyls. I think that's the physical media. I'm a vinyl collector. I love collecting signed vinyls of bands that I love, and I think that you put out a 7-inch single of your new single, and make it limited to 250 and pop those out, and then put another color up on Newberry Records, or like you could easily manipulate that in your favor and make money. And bands need to evolve to be able to make money, because other ways making your music and stuff like that isn't. What are you going to really get paid off of streaming right now? Nothing.
Right. Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to your point about bands bringing up the thing with merch, I think that needs to be the new thing right now, is that, especially in the metal community, a lot of bands, especially the bigger bands, like say like Hatebreed, like even Five Finger, shit like that, like they need to band together and figure out a way to get Spotify and like the likes of that to get paid. They need to find a way to get paid from these streaming sites.
If everybody took their music off at the same time, Spotify would be forced to pay. The problem is, it's one of those things where it's a game of chicken that nobody wants to be the one to go first. Yeah. Right?
It's gonna have, okay, any of the bands you mentioned, it's not gonna work. It's got to be a Taylor Swift. It's got to be someone big. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it won't work, because look at all these eyes on Ticketmaster. The minute the Taylor Swift tickets were bad, right? It has to be a name that really makes a dent and makes like the headlines, right? Like
normies.
Nobody. How many people? Right. But I'm saying, like, could you imagine turning on the news? Five Finger Death Punch pulls their music off Spotify.
Fair.
You think that's going to be on your local news? No.
True.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
It's got to be. It's got to be the big and the bold to make a stance, right? And they tried stuff with Tidal, right? I mean, I think Tidal's still around, but you don't hear anybody talking about it.
Mm-hmm. No.
They tried that. That was owned by Deadmau5, a bunch of other people. Like, they tried an artist-owned one, right? And that didn't work. So,
yeah, at the beginning of the year, this dude was in a bunch of message boards saying he was starting just a metal-only one, and it literally failed in like a fucking month. He was like, "We're gonna pay these artists what they're owed," and where are you getting the money?
Well, if you think about it, right, like that, Facebook started the not collapse, but the everything just getting just shitty, right? Because think about it, before Facebook, you had your say Tim is a Ford guy, right? He had his Ford message board to talk about his car. He had Lambgoat to talk about music. He had this other message board to talk about this, and our lives were very spread out. They were balkanized, right? And then Facebook comes and says, "Oh, well, you can put all your friends in one place." And then you have that fucked up friends graph where ex-colleagues, family, music friends, friends that Tim works on his truck with, like, and they put it all together, and it made it really shitty. And I think now and you look at what's happened with all the streaming services. I think we're going to go back and we're going to unbundle and go back that way where you're going to have like the extreme streaming service where I don't understand how people could say that company is worth billions of dollars. They own nothing. They don't even own the servers that their shit runs on. That's all sublet through AWS. So all they have is an algorithm. That's it. Do you tell me that algorithm is worth billions of dollars?
People are paying it every month.
I mean, I pay it. I pay it as a
I pay it.
necessary evil. I fucking hate them. I, I just don't understand how that could be worth $1 billion, right? Like because somebody heard me listen to Knock Loose and they think I might like Orthodox. Wow, give them a Pulitzer or a Nobel Prize. Like really?
One interesting, okay, to spin off that, let me ask you this, because I think it was Adam Jones or Danny or someone from Tool, they mentioned how their music not being on streaming for years hurt them. And it hurt them because, a lot of people aren't like the younger generation aren't familiar with their music now because of it. It was a recent
That's
article.
yeah.
I mean, which is interesting because, I mean, I listen to stuff on YouTube occasionally, and I know Tool's albums are, kind of up on YouTube, but I never thought about it that way in that sense, right?
It's true. It's true. Your first thought is, oh well, are they on Spotify?
Yeah.
Tim, we just had two conversations off albums. Tim and I had an episode. We talked to what's his name about American Head Charge.
Oh, D.
These guys?
Alex,
Oh, Alex.
Alex
Oh, yeah,
Castronovo.
there you
Yeah.
go.
We
Nice.
had a conversation with him where I shared the album with Tim. I pulled it off SoulSeek because it's not on streaming. A couple episodes prior, we had John Detox on where we talked about the sequel to the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, where that is not on streaming. I had to pull it off of SoulSeek. I mean, it is kind
Yeah.
of weird, and it's kind of an inconvenience, but it isn't an inconvenience. It's like, oh, I got to work a little bit.
Yeah. I know, and one person too, you talked about like Monty Connor. There's another guy, Tom Hazard. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all.
Mm-mm.
He signed like Switched, Chimera, like all those bands back, back in that time. He was like the king of the Cleveland bands.
Okay.
He actually had American Head Charge for a while. Obviously until after the feeding, I think. Feeding was or when was not the feeding? What was the one after the feeding? Um,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
Tango Ultra or something.
it
Yeah.
was like
I think it's
2015,
Umbrella or some shit.
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're kind of done now, obviously. And I actually asked him because he's Taproot's manager now. He does everything for Taproot. He manages a band called Heartsick and a few others. Um, but yeah, I mean, you got to pick and choose your bands at that point, right? It's not 1999 when you got,
Mm-hmm.
everyone clamoring for like a cool new metal band or anything like that. But um, you know, it's interesting how that evolves though. I mean, I never thought that half these bands would be back right now. Like I honestly was hoping Spineshank was going to return and Johnny did like a live and he's doing like Silent Civilian and working on another project and doing some painting and stuff. He just doesn't want to do it and um who knows why? Who knows why?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's weird.
he's it's financially, I mean, if Snot can come back and then play these big
Yes.
festivals,
Yeah.
like, dude, you're just missing your cash cow here.
Yes.
Take the money and do it.
Go
Like
on tour with Fear
I,
Factory.
I mean, Cold Chamber is that and that's cool to see. I hope Dez is doing well. I hope he's in physical and mental health,
Mm-hmm.
has everything, in check. But but yeah, no, I want to see some more of these bands. Like I want to see Chimera play more shows. I want to see these guys gain more momentum and go overseas. I want to see them go to South America and make that money because there's money there for them. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tim
Yeah.
and I keep talking about, can we just get the Ultra Spank guys back together, just play one or two shows, like just one or two shows? I'll be totally happy.
Speaking of Chimera, I don't know if you're tight with them, but like, are we getting a new record? Like, I need to know if we're getting a record. There has to be something in the works.
I'm not tight with them, but it feels like a situation kind of like Taproot where they got their own daily lives and their day jobs. And then I know Mark's been doing like a lot of photography and stuff, and he had health issues and Chris Spacuzza. Funny thing is, some of those videos you watched on my channel were filmed by Chris Spacuzza. He was
No
a
shit.
bootlegger. Yeah, he was a bootleg trader years before he was in Chimera. That was like how we got to know him. He filmed Slipknot, like a bunch of other bands. So interesting
That's
fact
wild.
about that. But um, but yeah, I think it's like one of those things where you can keep your day jobs and keep your consistent, cash cow of your daily life, and then make some extra money on the side by playing shows. So do I think that they're going to put out a new record? I just don't see the point, to be honest with you. I don't think they will. I think that they're kind of already set in what they are. And those dudes are getting older. I don't think that they care to. I think that they just like to play a couple shows and take the paycheck. And, if you're going to get on all the Danny Wimmer festivals, why not? I mean, you're going to get booked at Incarceration every year. You're going to get.
Let me ask you this, Brad. You just brought that up. You brought up Danny Wimmer. Have we reached peak saturation when it comes to the giant American rock festival? Have we reached peak festival? Is the bubble going to pop?
Well, I did go to Sick New World both years. And then I worked at Louder Than Life this year. And just seeing the crowd and seeing how packed it was, I think maybe a couple of them, like obviously we saw Sick New World make poor decisions. And
Yeah.
I'm actually really shocked by that because Bino runs part of it, Bino from Velvet Hammer. And I mean, that guy is one of the smartest guys in nu metal. He's probably the king of nu metal. If you ever want to get anyone to try to, I don't know if he has ever really done podcasts or anything, but he's Korn, Deftones, System of a Down's manager, Avenged Sevenfold's manager. Literally runs. He runs Sick New World.
Mm.
He's the one who signed Taproot and got Taproot to sign with him over Fred Durst. Like that guy has so much history. It's
Wow.
wild. It's wild. But
What's his name?
Bino. His name is Bino, Beno. David Benoveste. He is the CEO of Velvet Hammer Management. But
Jay, get on it.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll track him down.
good luck. Good luck. I'd be shocked, but hey, I'll root for you guys. He's a tough cookie to crack, um, but yeah, he's co-owner of that. I'm shocked that someone of his experience would, kind of falter under the paying for Linkin Park and Metallica. When I saw that, and I was kind of it made me kind of sad because System of a Down and the uniqueness made that festival. If something's not unique, you saw Sick New World fail, right? They had only 20% of their tickets sold or something like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be unique. You got to stand out. And if you're a new festival, right? Like you can't just have a million new festivals popping up nowadays. But I was just happy to see Blue Ridge go because just the chaos. I work in logistics and the chaos of everything with that. Like I was just so glad to see that festival after year of everyone complaining about so much gone wrong that finally like Tank the Tech spoke out about it. I like seeing people vocal and be like, hey, like this is not okay to treat bands and fans and everyone this way. Like otherwise these people are just going to take the money and you're going to have to file chargebacks on them and you're going to be caught in a bunch of chaos. So I mean, I think Danny Wimmer festivals are pretty pro, top notch. And I think his are going to go off without a hitch. We had one Chicago open air. They had it 2 or 3 years, and then financially just wasn't worthy for them to have it here anymore.
Mm.
And ever since then, they've had their other ones go off really well. So,
What festivals does Danny do?
um, Rock on the Range,
Oh, okay.
Incarceration, all of them that you can think. Aftershock, Louder Than Life.
Wow.
He doesn't do Rocklahoma anymore. He sold them back to I think he sold it back to the original people who ran it before. But it's Incarceration, Sonic Temple, basically the big ones.
Sonic Temple is Rock on the Range now, right?
Is it?
I think it is. Yeah. No, is it? The
It's the one
one
in
you're talking about?
Columbus. I think it's
Yeah,
in
the one in
Columbus.
Columbus. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they renamed it
Did
for it
they?
was Rock on the
Yeah.
Range. I think it's something else now. It might be Sonic. I'm not sure. I listen to a dude who DJs out of Cincinnati, and they always talk about Rock on the Range. So, but it's
Yeah.
definitely a different name now.
Yeah, Louder Than Life's great. I mean, even though we got, I was there, I was working the day of Slayer and I was setting up. I do everything for Edema. I'm their video guy still. And we were on stage. It was us and the Power Man guys. And we were just loading in or whatever, and the video wall was swaying from the wind that day. It was so crazy. Like we ran off the stage out of panic because we thought this $1 million video wall was
It
gonna
was just gonna
fall
come
on us.
down. Yeah.
Like we were terrified. It was the wind was just too much, and then they canceled that day, and it was kind of a bummer, but I'm glad that they did that rather than risking it. And they tried. They came out with a whole new schedule with to fit every band in there. They like did a makeshift stage in a tent to try and make sure every band played. And um, yeah, it was. I was kind of bummed about that because it would have been cool to see Slayer again, but um, yeah, it was sucks because a band like Edema playing at a big festival like that, like that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to see.
Did you do the music video for Edema, that newer song?
No.
Okay.
I never did any music videos for Edema. I did Trust Company's music video for The Fear. I filmed
Oh,
that
okay.
one.
Oh, cool.
And as far as other like video stuff, I did Anthrax's DVD, Music of Mass Destruction.
Oh, nice.
That was filmed at the Metro in Chicago, and I directed that one. And then I did a DVD for Alien Ant Farm and Mushroom Head. I did a lot of stuff for them. I did
Fuck yeah.
Volume 2 for Mushroom Head, and then
Oh, good shit.
yeah,
Love that fucking band.
All right, I
yeah,
got a question for you, Brad. With all
yeah.
the obscure new metal you've covered, you've videoed, you've seen, you've been around, what are one or two of the bands where you're like, looking back, you really are surprised that the band didn't get huge? Like they did, one of those bands where you're like, I thought this band would have been it, and the fact that they didn't blow up kind of still irks me.
Honestly, I mean, I'll play favorites here. There's two that I play total favorites, and I don't know if you'd even maybe. I mean, this depends how obscure we're gonna go here, but both of them are at Ozfest in 2000, I think. Shovel. I don't know
Okay.
if you remember Shovel and
Mm-hmm.
Reveille.
Reveille.
Yes. So like those guys, the Reveille guys, they were actually one of the first bands I filmed back in the days. But like I just love that sound. And Shovel was kind of well, Reveille had like more of a raw sound, and then Shovel kind of sounded like I was like, oh, it's like a Rage Against the Machine vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought that both of those bands were gonna do well. I was obviously very wrong, but I still love them to this
Well, I
day.
mean, Reveille did what,
Um,
two albums? Did they play?
yeah.
They
Bleed the
played
Sky.
Woodstock. Didn't they play Woodstock?
Nah, Reveille never played Woodstock.
Oh, I
They
think
played.
they.
They opened for like Foo Fighters or something like that, like in a parking lot somewhere, I think.
Because I remember seeing that they were on the bill, but I think that was when, that must have been early delusions of grandeur before shit really started falling apart. But I mean, they had a moment though. They were out, they played the WSOU birthday bash. They went out, they opened for, God, they did a couple of headliners that came to the Bird Show. They opened for, was it Machine Head on the Burning Red tour with them and Primer
Yeah,
55?
I,
So
I
they
filmed
had a
that.
minute.
Yeah, I filmed that tour. I filmed that
No
tour with
shit.
Machine Head and Primer. Yeah,
Tim, were you at
yeah,
that at the Troc? I was at that show.
Who was it again?
It was Machine Head, Primer 55, and Reveille.
yep.
I might have been. I can't remember, dude.
It was a
That was
drinking
such a
years.
that was such a good end. One other band I'll throw in there that I really liked, and I thought that, well, I'll give two. One of them you'll probably know because of the singer Blood Simple. I don't know if you
Oh
Oh,
remember.
yeah.
Tim Williams from
Yeah,
VOD. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, I thought that album, I mean, Straight Hate, all that. I mean, that's probably that Blood Simple album is probably one of the most underrated new metal albums ever made. That album is just straight in your face fire. I just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love it. And then a band, Third Strike.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Jim Korth is no longer with us, but um, I really like them, and I filmed them at Ozfest. I think I have the only live footage ever filmed of that band is
No
from my
shit.
video. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is wild.
Right before, speaking of Blood Symbol, right before we got on, I was watching VOD. Let me pull it up
Oh,
from
the show they just
from
did.
from Lupos. No, this is August 2nd, 97,
Oh
Providence, Rhode
Jesus.
Island. It sounds fucking good too, man. Like really good, actually.
Yeah, they were. I
Yeah.
mean, they were monsters live. Like what a monster of a band live. And I mean, like so Blood Simple, Low Pro, Hell Yeah, Damage Plan. That even you could even throw Devil Driver into that lump, right? Those were the bands
Yeah.
coming out of new metal. Those were
Yeah.
notable singers, guitarists, virtuosos who were trying to make a second go out of it with a sound that was just a little bit cockeyed off of what they were doing previously. I am convinced that VOD is one of those bands that just the universe conspired to not let them get as big as they should have been. The
No,
first
timing.
album,
Timing.
well, yeah, and the first album they picked the wrong engineer. They made it too tinny. Um, the second album, the fans didn't know what to do with it. The third album was them leading into like the Doors and the Depeche Mode stuff, and they had no, and it was too early, right? And then 9/11 happened, which killed their chances of opening for Pantera over in the UK and over in Europe. And they were never the same after that. They broke up, and some of their comeback albums, Raised to the Ground, it's a fucking
Mhm.
great album. But I
Yeah.
just think you're right. They were always in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You
Yeah.
think the first record sounds too tinny?
Oh, it's way too tinny.
Really?
Oh, the gain on that is way too high. There's sound profile is too terrible. And they admitted that they went to that studio because that's where the Madball album came from, but they didn't realize
Mm.
that Matt Anderson was the one who produced the Madball album. And instead they got the whoever the house guy was, and they were not happy with it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Henderson did talk about that. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, but that record's fucking great either way. So.
But I would also say argue with VOD goes Candiria, right? A band who was just doing something so different that everybody was like, what do we do with this?
Yeah,
So
I filmed Candiria once actually. I think I still I never put up the footage, I don't think, but
I was literally just gonna ask you that. Is there how many videos do you still have to put up, or is everything up?
I mean, in my library, I probably have over 4,000 shows. I'll never
Holy
put everything
shit.
up. A lot of stuff too is from other friends that I just never uploaded. Like recently, I don't know if you saw a big bunch of over the last year, a bunch of Slipknot footage, like insane Slipknot footage from like Ozfest and stuff. I've had that for years. Some old Mudvayne stuff. I mean, there's tons of American Head Charge stuff that's not up.
Any
Um,
nothing face?
I get that question a lot. No, unfortunately, that was
Mm.
one band I never, I didn't film. They were on Ozfest in '04, and I wasn't filming at that, I don't think. I'm pretty sure it was '04. It was either '03 or '04, but I wasn't filming at the time. And yeah, I think that was the only time I got to see them. It's
Damn.
and people are obsessed with Nothing Face right now. It's
Hell yeah.
crazy. Like I was like Matt Hole, wherever you are, I hope you're enjoying this because people miss you here for sure. Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Skeletons, like I love that album. I love Violence. Like I just those albums were just prime in your face. I
Yep.
mean, it's like the rough, tough new metal, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know.
It's crazy because when we did the dive on violence, Jay hadn't even heard it.
Nope.
And
Never
then
heard
now
that
it's like
album.
one of his favorite records.
Yep. I listen to that all the time. I listen to that all the time. And shout out to Jordan from Zone Zero. I listen to Crazy Town's Dark Horse so frequently because
Me
I
too.
can't believe I can't believe how good that album was, and it nope, fans didn't know what to do with it.
Timing
Yep.
again. It's
Yep.
all it is.
Well,
It's all it is.
Shifty said it in all those interviews he did before he passed. He said, we were to half our fans who were the Butterfly band, and they hated anything heavy, and to the other half of our fans, they didn't want to hear anything like Butterfly, so they wrote us off. And we put out the second album, which is what we wanted to hear. We said the label be damned, and just
Yeah.
wither on the vine.
Hey, you gotta do what you want to do though, man. Can't always please everybody.
Yeah, no, you got to please yourself.
So we're gonna get into the questions where we make you think real quick.
All right, let's do it.
Favorite set you've ever filmed?
Favorite set I ever filmed. I'm gonna say Mudvayne's CD release party for LD50 at the House of Blues,
God damn.
and that was opening with Relative Ash Factory 81 and um, not One Side Zero, who was 1 Minute Silence.
Shit,
Oh
man.
wow,
That was filmed for MTV2 as well, but I filmed it as well. So yeah.
jeez.
Give us a set or a band you wish you filmed other than Nothing Face.
I mean, I actually tried to film Limp Bizkit this summer, and the guitar tech said he can't make it happen. So I'll say Limp
Why?
Bizkit. Fred just only has what he wants, who he trusts and wants filmed, and hey, I accept it. It is what it is, but you got to shoot my shot, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, you shoot your shot or it seems like you shot. I don't even know how to say it that way, but it
He
seems
took
like you did a lot.
more shots landed than didn't. There you go, Tim.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go. I mean, because the cast of videos you have is out of control, man. Like I like back when I found the channel, I was sat there for like nights. Like girlfriend would go to bed, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going on YouTube, and I'm just like, I can't believe I'm seeing these fucking videos,
Yeah.
man. Just wild shit, dude. And the
Yeah.
fact that you didn't even like go to school or anything for this, and you just went out and did it is even crazier.
Hey, it was a great way at the time to get into shows for free and hang with bands, right?
Yeah,
Hell,
this is
hell yeah,
true.
man.
This is true.
Yeah, I mean, like you can't fucking beat that. Like, how long were you doing it for? 5, 6 years, 10 years?
From 99 till 2005. That was
Okay,
kind of
so
my
it's
prime. And then I just started filming again in 2023. I got sick of, always going to shows and filming it on my iPhone. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna buy a camera and try and do this again and film shows for fun and film bands that I'm still friends with. And, you know, I'm gonna try and probably film Static Dress in a few months. I put up a TikTok at Louder Than Life of Fit for a King, and it got 20 million views.
holy
So
shit.
yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, across all platforms. So yeah, the bassist wants me to come out and film them the next time that they come through, so I'll do that. Yeah, it's hey, if you
Great
got the
band
angle,
too.
man, hey, we're right. Like, why if you get the opportunity, I'm gonna roll with it. So I'll
Oh, I'm not hating, dude, at all. I'll never hate. I keep bringing the content because I'm gonna keep watching it. Jay's,
I can't believe you've got like thousands of sets just sitting there somewhere in a box. Like you got to will that to somebody to say, "Yo, my last will and testament is all this needs to be ripped and put on the internet." Like,
It'd be like if just put in I'll just put a note on it. I'll be like at New Breed podcast.
yeah,
So
right.
there you
Tim and I'll
go.
still be
There you
doing it.
go.
Yep,
There you
yep.
go.
hell yeah, dude.
Corn will be on their like 47th album. That's
So,
awesome.
Hell yeah.
so are you one of them guys that because we talk to a lot of people and we always ask like, what have you been listening to? Like, what are your favorite records this year? Are you one of them guys that's like just doesn't have time to listen to new music, or are you
Oh
hip
my
to like a
God.
lot of new stuff?
I listen to so much new music, man. Like
Good shit.
I
There you
don't
go.
I'm not as much as I'm wearing an American Head Charge shirt right now, but at the same time, I'm wearing a hat that says the warning on it. So I listen to a lot of new stuff too.
Okay.
I might not go down the path of like Throne, Better Lovers, like all that. I like Static Dress, for example. That's a amazing band. My buddy Johnny actually signed them and sent me their Spotify months before he signed them. He's like, "Hey, check this band out. Let me know what you think." And I was like blown away by them.
Yeah,
And
great record.
I mean, they're just Ollie's just such a good singer, and so is Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon. I love the new Bring Me the Horizon album. It just
Fucking
hits
love it.
so many elements. It's just
Yeah.
such a perfect. And I saw Bring Me the Horizon 4 times last year. I saw them both at the Sick New World after parties at the Fountain Blue. I saw them at Sick New World, and then I was in Milan, and I saw them in Milan as well.
Oh
So
shit.
I
Okay.
love Bring Me the Horizon.
That
That
new
new,
record surprised the shit out of me, man.
yeah, I mean, they're the next headliner band. As far as bands like, I saw Sleep Token on their tour. I like them. I thought they were a great live band. I just wasn't like this is like the next Metallica, like a lot of people. I like them. I respect them. Them being the headliner of Download, I think's awesome. I want to see new bands headline. I'm sick of seeing the Green Days, the Metallicas, the Red Hot
Right.
Chili Peppers.
So
Like, take the chance, do it.
right, go for it. I think you're
Yeah.
right. I don't think they're the next Metallica. If anything, closer to Kiss, where it's more of a
Okay.
visual, audio visual performance. The aesthetic is just as important as the live show. Yeah, I would agree. I saw that show, and that was one of the rare bands I've stood there. I stood there with my mouth open, just I
Yeah.
can't believe they pulled this off live. How good they sound. It was an experience. It really was.
Yeah, that's hearing that band and another band that really impressed me live. I'm pretty good friends with Spencer from Periphery, and I finally got to see them.
Okay.
I filmed Periphery and a lot of my footage too, like I film for bands, but I never release it. It's just kind of put away. And I filmed like a 2 night run of them in Chicago, and I mean Misha and all them. They're such nice guys, and I really, they got on the Coheed tour, and that'll be a really big opportunity for them to
Hmm.
play those arenas. Meshuggah gets so much love, but Periphery doesn't kind of get enough love as much as they
Yeah.
should, I think. I
Yeah.
mean, they're just talk about real degen talent. I mean, they're one of the creators of that genre, and I think that they deserve a lot more credit. But yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot of new stuff. I'm not pigeonholed into the 90s or early 2000s. I'm always listening to new stuff. I love a lot of electronic music, like house, techno, French techno. I like a lot of anything that like really has
Yeah,
high
that's my
energy
wheelhouse.
stuff.
Tim at this point is trying to find his gag reflex because I start sharing that stuff and the response I get are unreal. So let me ask you this, Brad. So you mentioned Static Dress. What are some of the other new metal-esque bands that have come out recently that you think this is pretty good? I like this.
Well, there's one I can think of, and that's Sixth Sense. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're signed to Earache. They're actually opening at the Snot shows, which I'm actually
Huh.
pretty I'm actually like pretty like happy for them. I mean, they're a band. It's the old singer Robbie from Stuck Mojo, and
Okay.
then Vicky is the other singer, and she's from another band. They're based in Phoenix. Check them out.
Okay.
They're like your prototypical new metal like they're good, and I hope they really get their opportunity in 2025. Their like debut album comes out in February, so
Oh, okay.
people aren't really
Oh,
talking about them. And
it's sick sense, not
Yeah.
sixth. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Sixth
Across me
Sense.
twice, I found it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Check them out. They're total like new metal vibes. The Pretty Young. I don't know if you see it's two chicks that like they do
Yes.
like flips and rap and you know they're like pushing that new metal sound and I like that. I like that. I like doing something different, right? Like,
Hmm.
if you're doing something if you're having fun on stage, like back in the day, all these bands just had fucking fun, right?
Yeah, even when it
You
was a
know?
beautiful disaster, you could
Yeah.
tell they were having a good time, and as a fan, that's what you remember.
And that's what you remember too, because
Yeah.
you feel that the passion from them on stage, and you know, so yeah, I would say them, and I'm trying to think of other newish new metal bands.
Let's
One
give
other,
them some
one,
Uh, Go
graphic
on.
nature.
Yeah, Graphic Nature would be my first
okay,
choice. Drowner, the guys from Portland, that last
okay.
EP and then the remix were unbelievable. Um,
Profiler.
Profiler,
I've heard of Profiler. I have heard of them. I have heard
Great
of them.
fucking band.
from the UK, it's what is it? Starved?
Yep.
Starved, and then there's the other band, Bodyweb, which is it's actually a couple of guys I think from Higher Power. So they play it's definitely closer to hardcore, but it's definitely has its new metal influences.
Mhm.
This is all stuff that Tim and I found where somebody says, "Hey, if you like this, you should listen to this," and we end up down the rabbit hole. And Graphic Nature, that episode of ours just came out today when we're recording. Um, we've had Harvey on twice. They've got some headline shows coming up. That album was almost my pick of the year. It missed it by this much.
Yep.
Wasn't
But
Black Coast? Aren't they from the
yep,
UK?
yep.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard of them. They were really good. I listened to a bunch of songs of them. Um, have you guys heard of? There's one band that might, if I had to pick a breakout band, and they're not new metal, but I absolutely love this album, and it probably would be in my like top three favorite albums of 2024, and that's Imminence the Black. I don't know if you've listened to them.
Yeah. Is that
Oh
the band
my
with like the
God.
violins and stuff?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my
Imminence the
God.
Black.
Oh my
Okay.
God. Talk about a work of art. I'm telling you right now, all these Sleep Token fans are gonna find this and they're gonna just absolutely fall in love. It's one of those things where it's so unique. It's like they call it violin core, but it's like it's hilarious. But the singer, I mean, it it meshes so well, and they're actually going to do it shows at the end of the year with like a full orchestra,
Mm.
which is pretty cool. But they're coming.
I'll
They're
check it
coming.
out.
Yeah, they're coming to Chicago with Landmarks. So I'm gonna go. I'm probably gonna go to that one. That's on my list for sure.
Speaking of Chicago, were you ever involved with anything Victory?
I knew this guy. I knew the guy Jason, who kind of was one of the guys at Victory, but I never really messed with Victory. I was not like the hardcore, like any stuff
Okay.
like that. I never. What's the other one that Poison? I filmed Poison the Well a few
Trustkill.
times. Trustkill, like I never messed with Trustkill. Like, my buddy worked for Fueled by Ramen. Um, like I never really the pop punk and all that. Like, I just I never really got
Wasn't your
pushed,
thing. It just wasn't your
pushed
thing.
into it.
Yeah.
I tried it. Like I filmed the Ataris. I filmed a bunch of like random bands like that. I filmed a band called May. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to dabble around and to like try different things because that's how I got in with the Used in My Chemical Romance by like, trying like different I worked for Avenged Sevenfold because of My Chemical Romance, or not My Chemical Romance, sorry, Mushroom Head. Avenged opened for Mushroom Head in 2002 on a tour. And that's how I got to know the Avenged guys at the time and filmed them at Warp Tour and filmed them at their one of their biggest shows they ever played at the Fonda Theater. And I stood by Jimmy the whole time. I was in charge of the drummer angle, so I stood next to the Rev for an hour and a half and filmed straight up on him.
What a
And
sick drummer he was too, man.
oh, he's literally the pulse, the heartbeat of that band, and I'll forever love their old music. But
We Awaken the Fallen is a fucking great record.
what
I know a lot of people are like, ah, band sucks, but yeah, Awaken the Fallen, that record when that came out, man, I was like, this is something new. It was like refreshing at the
Yeah.
time, man.
It was a breath of fresh air. Yep.
Yeah, like
oh
I'll
yeah,
listen to that like once in a while, and then like I just get like that first track comes on, it just brings me back to that time frame, and I'm like, dude, I cannot believe how good that record is. It's
yeah.
fucking, it's good. Didn't he? Is he the one that passed?
Jimmy did, yeah, the Rev, the
Yeah,
drummer.
yeah, it sucks, man. Dude,
Yeah.
Portnoy took over for him after, didn't he?
It was a guy named Aiden or Aaron or something briefly, and then Portnoy was with
Yeah.
them, and then I mean I don't know, maybe Portnoy was first, and then it was this other guy, but and then obviously now Brooks obviously is
Oh
there,
yeah,
but
yeah, okay. So,
yeah.
and another band I want to talk about is Mushroom Head. Like I see all the videos you have, and I'm like, I fucking love that shit, man. One of my favorite bands ever. Like,
Prime Mushroom Head, because that you had like right.
yeah, oh, yeah.
I was so I actually have a video of them. I have not posted, and I probably won't. But I was in the studio with them when they filmed 13, and
Um,
They filmed it in
god
Chicago.
damn, dude.
They filmed it in Chicago at Johnny K's studio. So I went and I hung out with them for like a day and just I filmed a little bit. But the producer kind of was like giving me dirty looks because at the time most people didn't have video cameras in a studio, right?
Mhm.
Like now everybody has cameras and
Now
film.
they're live
Yeah,
streaming the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But at the time, I was kind of getting some weird looks. I only got filmed a few minutes of it, but yeah, I got some like cool watching Jeffrey Nothing film a bunch of stuff and some acoustic stuff from that day. But yeah, those guys were they were swinging on all cylinders at that time during that era, and
yeah. I mean, 13 came out on Universal, didn't it?
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that. See, that's a record I tell Jay nonstop. Fucking listen to that
Hmm.
record because it's
yeah.
so fucking. It's perfect. It's literally perfect.
The
Every
sun
song
doesn't
on there just
rise.
bangs. It. I love that goddamn record. Like
Yeah.
if someone says to me like, "Hey man, I'm trying to get into like some new metal stuff," instantly I give them that record.
I'd give him
Just do it.
XX. I'd give him XX solely because of Solitaire Unraveling. Like I love
Oh
Womp,
yeah.
all those songs. I mean, just that's, I mean, you can't go wrong with either, but I probably would choose that because of those songs. But
Yeah, and
I
I
get it.
love the way 13 starts out because it doesn't start out like a record usually does. It just boom, it just hits you right away and you're like, "Wait a minute, is this track 3 or something?" Because it's just the way it starts out. It's I love that record, man. It's like they put like track 3 first and then 2 songs later it's like, "Oh, this should be track 1." And that's why I
Yeah.
love that fucking record. But and plus, you get to the other half of the record, it's like this record is still fucking good. It's like track 12 and you're like, "This is still good." Like they just had it back then, man. That's
Yeah.
a fucking amazing record. I will 20 years from now, I'll still be telling people how good that is. I'll be 60 in 20 years, and I'm still going to tell people how good that record is.
Yeah,
It's just great.
that was a great iteration of the band, and I it's so interesting the band dynamic of that compared to other bands. I mean, Skinny, the drummer, is the man. He kind of calls all the shots, and when you have a lot of band members, sometimes you're gonna have issues in between, and
Hmm.
that happens in every band, to be honest with you. But some bands, they flip guys in and flip guys out, and
Yeah.
it's just
Yep.
unfortunate. I don't even know half the time who's in the band nowadays besides Skinny. It is what it is, but I hope I
Yeah.
I don't talk to them anymore, but I hope they keep doing their thing. Like I wish that they had the water drums back when I was filming, because that would have been really cool to film.
Yeah, I went to the comeback show for the Agora in Cleveland,
Mhm.
and they had the Water Drums there that night, and that show was, dude, it was so packed. They oversold it. Like literally, like I don't know, like how your guys' high school was, but mine was like every time you went to a different class, it was like you were just being pushed by the crowd to like get to your next classroom. It was the same experience in that venue. Like you couldn't breathe. It was so fucking packed.
Damn.
And it was, dude, that was an amazing night, man. It's just like every time I tell people about shit like that, they're like, "That band is terrible." I'm like, "All right, man, whatever. I don't care.
Well,
Don't
Cleveland show
fucking care."
especially, a
Yeah,
Cleveland show
Right.
especially, it's
Right.
prime,
Hometown
right?
heroes. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it
Yeah.
was, and it just blows everybody's mind too. We talk about this all the time. People are like, "Oh yeah, integrity," but I'm like, "Yeah, you know that one record that a couple of the Mushroom Head guys were on? No, they weren't. Okay, you keep thinking that, but okay."
Yep. Yep.
You know how big J Man was in the fucking Cleveland hardcore scene? Like,
Mhm.
okay, keep telling yourself that, buddy, because like people they get fucking stung by shit like that. They're like, wait a minute, I like that record. I'm like, yeah, you do. You just
Hmm.
got stung. Sorry, buddy. It's I just love shit like that. So
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. I didn't I didn't film too much in Cleveland, but I worked for all the Cleveland bands. I worked for Switched, I
oh
worked for
wow.
Chimera, I worked for Mushroom Head. So I basically had all of them that I filmed.
What you
So
said you started at 99, right?
98, 99.
98.
Yeah.
I wonder, so were you doing anything Cleveland back then? Because who was the band that
No.
was in who are the dudes Chimera were in that one band that everybody fucking loved? Jay probably knows that band. It was the band that Andals and what's his name was in before Chimera.
Oh, we've talked about this. I just forget the
Yeah,
name.
that record's
Shit.
great, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember it either, but yeah, that record's great either way. But yeah, there's one more thing I wanted to ask you. I just my iPad went off. I just got to pull it up. Hold on.
Ascension?
Yeah, Ascension. There you go.
Hmm. No, I don't remember them, unfortunately. But I'll check out the
Okay.
record now that you mention it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's on streaming actually. It might be. I'll link it to you if it is.
It's always
So
on YouTube.
yeah, yeah. There you go. So as of right now, I know you said you have a bunch of like videos, sitting that you could put up, but are you in the market for like people to send you stuff like, hey, I filmed the set in '97, like here's a orgy set or some shit? Like, is that something you'd be interested in?
Not really. We kind of just leave the channel kind of as is at this point.
Okay.
We don't really, I mean, not closing the door on it, but the guy who kind of uploads a lot of the stuff, I don't do all the uploads myself. Like I said, like it was such a big project because there's so much footage. So the two guys that kind of handled like the editing and all that, one of them, he's just so busy with life stuff in general that like it's too unpredictable if we would we've
Yeah.
talked about it. We've mentioned it like, hey, leaving the door open for it. We have plenty more footage to put up on it. But, that's a decision that would kind of be, I'd get a message on my Facebook saying, hey, man, I think I'm going to upload some more. It's just like a random thing one day that I can't really predict. But I encourage everyone to just upload stuff, right? Put it up. If someone's searching, they'll find it. The internet is a small place and small world. Everyone will see it if, you know,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
you
Now you're
know,
right. Cool,
so
man.
I mean, it's the more people putting stuff up, the better. So that way the vault is unlocked and everyone stuff
Yeah.
like a lot of
Otherwise,
these,
this shit will get
yeah,
forgotten. It'll
all these
just get
bands,
forgotten. Yep.
yeah, all these bands had no digital footprint, right? Relative Ash Live, Third Strike Live, like 5.0 Live, like nobody had any of that. Why eliminate? Like so there was a small band back in the day here in Chicago called the Blank Theory, and they became Medina Lake. It was the twins from Medina Lake. I don't know if you remember them, but
Mm-mm.
they were on TRL. They kind of went a little more emo-ish vibes, but they were a new metal. It was these two twins, and I put up videos of them that nobody had ever seen before, and people freaked out because nobody ever thought that they would see, you know.
Right.
And I get these comments like, "Dude, I was 2 weeks old when this was filmed," and I'm like, "Cool, bro." I get this every week. I get another comment. "Hey, man, I was 6 days old when this was filmed." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah,
I
you
hope
and
you enjoy
everybody
it."
else who's that age. Yep, yep,
I
yep.
hope you enjoy it. Hey, you were still at the hospital. I hope you enjoy the show now.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Can't
But
blame them for doing it.
hey, I film everything. Like I went to Jingle Ball with my wife last week and I filmed Teddy Swims and Madison Beer and put it on my channel. I don't care. Put up everything. I put up a Benson Boone video. He played a new song and I was like, "Oh, this might drive some people to my channel to go check out something new," right? So,
And this is on your
yeah.
separate channel.
Yeah, I have a Brad
Okay.
Nolan videography channel. So that's
Oh,
like where
okay.
I kind of upload all my stuff now. Um, a lot of band stuff. Nowadays, a lot of bands, I'm pretty hesitant of putting up soundboard audios of a lot of stuff. You
Yeah.
know,
They'll
I don't
freak
want to,
out. Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to do that because let's say a band wants to release stuff on their own or they don't like the way it sounds. They should have creative control over that, not me,
Yeah.
right?
That's
You
fair.
know?
Yeah.
I was just
So,
gonna say, is this you with the 6.37 million subscribers? But then it says, "I love sharing my commentary on animals," so I don't think that's you.
no.
Yeah.
Moo.
Yeah.
Oh, here you are, fit for a king. I found you. All right,
There you go.
perfect. So now I
Yeah.
get to check all this stuff out tonight.
Yeah.
Good
You'll
shit.
you have
Good
to
stuff.
dig through earlier in the year. I put up a lot more of my like new metal, Alien Ant Farm, Edema, some of that stuff. But um, yeah,
Oh, shit. Yeah, Slayer 2003. God damn, dude.
yeah. I have a couple Slayer videos I put up originally, and then I got yelled at and I had to take them down. I have
With the
barricades.
label?
Well, the one that he's looking at right there, I stood behind Dave Lombardo for 2 hours and filmed him. It's me standing on
Jesus.
his kit. Yeah, I filmed.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
St. Louis.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was a Jägermeister tour we did. We did like 15 shows on that tour.
Oh, there's a bunch of Limp Bizkit stuff too, Jay.
That's the Metro show. That's just
Yeah, I'll
like,
go in. I'll
yeah.
go in.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Okay, 21. Yeah, cool. Good shit. Well, dude, thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Brad, seriously, we appreciate you taking your time. I mean, sharing some of these memories. That's some wild stuff. We look hopefully it's not soon, but someday I'm gonna be 90. I'm gonna get a box in the mail. It's hey, Brad left you these in his will, and it's gonna be a tractor trailer full of VHS tapes and all these kids that are what generation at that point it'll be like generation beta. They'll be like, what the fuck is this thing? What do you want me to do with this?
well, you'll have to figure that out for yourself then at the time.
Right,
I'll be
right.
gone. I'll be gone, so it's on you to figure it
Right,
out.
right. Awesome. So, Brad, thank you so much for coming on. We, on behalf of all the audience and Tim and myself, want to thank you for taking the time out. On behalf of Brad, Tim, and myself, I want to thank all of you for tuning in, watching, and listening once again. New Breed Podcast at gmail.com, New Breed _ podcast on Twitter and Instagram, 267-297-4627 for your audio complaints. We will play them on the show. New episodes every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. New reaction vids every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Sit down, have your lunch, start your day drinking, watch Tim and I react to something new that's out that week. Find us on r/numetal. Find us in our Facebook group. Until next week, Jay, Tim, and Brad, we're saying cheers.
Later.